Hmm. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another Art Toolkit demo. My name is Maria Coriel Martin, and I'm the founder of Art Toolkit. And today I'm just so thrilled to be joined with Symi Jackson from Rosemary Brushes. And
Hi,
Symi, I'm
Maria.
so thrilled to have you here.
Oh, me too. Thank you for having me back. It feels like so long ago that we did this.
I know we did our first Instagram Live, I think, one of our early ones with you many years ago. Now, and we're just such fans of the amazing materials you make. We carry just a whole big selection of your travel brushes, and
Oh, me too.
though we
Thank you for
have
having
yet to
me
meet
back.
in person,
So long ago that we did
um,
this.
I feel like you're one of our friends now of getting to share so many materials, and just really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today. Such fans of the amazing materials you make. We carry just a whole big selection of your travel brushes. Oh, and let's see, is that on your end, Simi? I think we've got a little audio.
I think so. Bear with
Yeah,
me.
check out your open web browsers and just go ahead and close one. It's probably just our recording there live streamed.
Oh no, hang on. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
Oh, no worries, everybody.
Just give me a sec.
Yeah, I'll
Trying
tell
to
you what,
figure
why
out
don't you
where.
just mute, you can just mute for 1 minute and I'll show off to everyone some of the wonderful things we carry by you while you sort it. So, in case any of you aren't yet familiar with the wonderful things that Rosemary and her daughter Simi, their whole team make a whole wide range of brushes. And our favorites that are just the perfect complement for our palettes are the travel brush line. And while we just wait for Simi to sort out the audio here, these are so sweet because they fit into the case, the little brush tip, and it makes them incredibly like portable because they're just not going to get dinged up. And they even have a little hole in the tip so that they can air dry. Are you all set, Simi, now?
Yeah, I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
oh, there's you know we do so many of these, and every time there's something to learn and a little something. But yeah, Simi, why don't you share a little background about, I mean, you're a family business too, like Art Toolkit. Can
Sure,
you talk
yeah.
about how you all got started?
Okay, so basically, Rosemary's my mum, and we're based here in Yorkshire in England. And my mum started making brushes 40 years ago next year. And at the time, travel brushes were definitely not a thing, on the cards. It was the traditional quills. She did a lot of brushes for pottery, the potters for on any kind of ceramic, and then it moved into fine art, and then it branches out into Warhammer model figures, and then it's like people want to go out and paint, and so before you know it, you just grow and grow and grow. And that's exactly what our travel brushes have done. They've just gone from being like 6 or 7 different ones to like people messaging in and saying, can we try this or can you do this? And like Maria will always message and say, oh, do you have one of these or can we try it like this? And just when you think artists have got enough brushes, they don't. They never have enough brushes. And so basically the travel brushes specifically for you guys, they sell like hotcakes. So many people want them, and I get it. It's exactly what you said. They can fall back into each other. They should last for a long time because of that. But of course, then it's like a new shiny toy. You don't want just one. You want then to try a different one, and it's true, right? Before
Oh,
we came to
oh,
school, Maria's like, "Can you try and make these? Can you do these? Can
in
So, and
fact, the
that's
last time we talked, Simi, you were showing like the eradicator, and you were like, I don't
yes,
think people make you a travel eradicator. And now we have an eradicator. And in fact, you put my art on the package, which I still feel so
yes,
blessed about.
we did. Yeah, no, it's that's how we've evolved as a company. I think it's because we listen to artists and we're with artists all the time, and so you kind of have your ear on the ground and you know what they want. And like this is a huge topic that you and I talk about, but lots of people are about synthetic versus natural hair as well, and moving more towards vegan. One of the absolute honest answers to that is that natural hair is so expensive these days. So, the good
Mhm.
old fashioned, squirrel mop quill that a lot of people used to have, we actually discontinued the squirrel mops because they were so expensive to make. And it gets
Mhm.
to a point where you're going to make for people who can't afford to buy. So what's the point? Um, same with Kolinsky Sable, it has gone up so much in the last couple of years that, you know, I was just looking at a catalogue this morning with mum, and the Series 33 size 10 standard Kolinsky Sable 10 years ago, so 2014, was £38. It's now up and above 85, you know, and that's 10
Wow.
years.
Wow.
And that's not just us sat in a room like plotting and scheming. That's just the price of, you know, the increase that it's, you know, it's doubled, if not more. So the way forward really is synthetic brushes, and it is making sure that we can offer synthetics that feel like the natural hair. So I think the common practice, a lot of people would originally have thought, you know, synthetics, just there's just one kind of synthetic, and there really isn't. You know, you can now, we're just about to release a synthetic goat hair mop kind of brush, and that's a completely different synthetic to the red dot, that is much firmer, much sharper, releases the paint differently, will hold a point, you know, versus then the synthetic snowdrop that's like slightly softer. The eradicator is synthetic, and it works better because it's synthetic, because it has that sharper edge that you can then pull and out, you know. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
horses for courses, but the price point is definitely there with the synthetics.
Well, you know, I'm going to be curious to test out some of the synthetic goat hair that you've got, and that's something I really appreciate about you all, Symi, is it seems like you're always, yeah, taking that artist feedback and exploring and experimenting, and you know, you doing even recently for us, we got excited about the filberts, and we can
Yeah.
test these out and talk more in detail. And we said, "Oh, Symi and Rosemary, can you please make a travel version?" And you're like, "Yeah, we can do that."
We can do it. I mean, the truth is we have to get asked by enough people to do it, and then we'll do it. But if you ask us, we'll always do it.
So,
But
but I want to step back a little minute. Can you talk a little bit, like, you grew up then with your mom making brushes, and was this like your mom starting out in your kitchen making brushes, or getting like a group of friends together and starting out selling at fairs, or how did this grow?
no,
Because
so
y'all are fairly
basically,
large. Mm-hmm.
how it started out was that my mum and dad set up a company, like I say, nearly 40 years ago now, and they were making brushes for direct use. So we were born in Stoke-on-Trent, which in England is famous for Spode, for Portmeirion was based there. Think Wedgwood, all the English potters that were, you know, traditionally were made in England. Now, unfortunately, a lot of it's in China, you know, and a lot of it's transfer. But back then it was all hand painted. And so my mum would go and directly to the factories and ask them what they wanted. Well, at that point in time, the only real competition was Winsor & Newton, and it was so expensive. Whereas Rosemary was able to come and say, "What do you want?" They'd put an order in, and the week after, she'd be able to go in and say, you know, "I've bought you your brush." And that kind of like bespoke, tailored approach basically meant that the girls would then whisper down the lines, "Oh, Rosemary's coming in next Friday. Make sure you tell her what you want." And so really how the ranges grew organically and naturally, just like they do now today with you and I on the travel brushes, where, so, you know, I need this, but it needs to be a bit like this. And it's not until you actually speak to artists that you understand that, you know. And so mum was able to do that. And then about 25 years ago, I'd say now, my mum and dad broke up, and my dad carried on doing his own thing. And then my mum branched out to what was originally ABS, now to Rosemary Brushes. And so this next year, we're celebrating 40 years of my mum. And it's gone from my mum making brushes from morning till night to now she really gets a couple of hours a day. But she still makes the bespoke bigger brushes,
Wow.
the real gutsy ones, the expensive ones. But she has full team now trained that make the brushes day in, day out. But that's why it still takes time, you know, like Maria will tell you guys, they can place an order with us, and like a 50 of these travel brushes take us a long time to make. Like, it doesn't seem like it would, but trust me, you know. So there's sometimes where these guys, it's true, right? You'll have orders on back order. You'll say, "Now, can you order smaller quantities but more frequently, so that we know we can fulfill your orders?" Because it just, everything takes time. It just does.
Yeah. Well, they're 100% worth the wait, Symi. And I know, since like I feel like since I first learned of your brushes from artist friend of mine, Jane Blundell, and then of course Liz Steele, also in Australia, and you've been, you know, slowly expanding your line since, which has been so fun to see.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we might talk about some of the different travel brushes you carry. And some of our collection here. I can bring up my desk and do some little stroke demonstrations and such. And because I know just like, a lot of questions come up, and one of the questions is like, brushes that are a similar size, what are the differences between them, how they can perform differently. And I'd love to just hear some of your little personal affinities too for any of them.
Well, you know what I think would make most sense, just because there's so many of them, but also just so that I can not miss something out. If I'm going to head to our website and I'm just going to pull up, for my own purposes, the travel brushes, so I can go through them in like some kind of order. So basically you've got the R0, 1 and 2 that are all from the Klinsky Sable range. As you'll see with the price points, they are not cheap, that it's the nature of that hair. And so unless you know that you want Klinsky Sable, I wouldn't even look to those. In truth, there's a real difficulty even importing them into the state.
That is true. We have a special permit for some of the blend ones. We don't carry a solid synthetic. And here I'm just getting my numbers set up for the numbers we have. And our first one, well, we've got what is currently the R3.
So this is the one I'm holding.
Okay.
So the R3, yeah.
Gorgeous brush. Can I
save from any confusion for folks, back in the day, the R3 was Klinsky Sable. It's now synthetic. It's the red dot. And the truth on that one is because the size of this brush, to do that in the Klinsky Sable is so expensive. No one's going to buy it. So basically we're migrating as we speak. The issue is that in the catalog, the R3 is still the Klinsky. But on the website, I've actually taken off the minute because we're making some, and you're first. We owe you first. But the R3 is going to continue to be a synthetic from the red dot, and it's a huge brush. Like you can probably, the best way for me to compare it for you to show you is our standard, let me just open one of these up. Our standard travel brush size that someone might be familiar with is this. Well, you can see the size of the casing is,
it's got this great big barrel.
Yeah, it's huge. So we call it the jumbo. Now, even just to source that jumbo, I think the jumbo barrel, I think that took us about 2 years. I seem to remember it feeling like forever, because it has to have all the same characteristics. Hole in the top has to be, the right kind of balance, that when you hold it, it doesn't feel too cumbersome, but it obviously needs to be bigger than what was, because it's a bigger brush. It's also got the mop kind of like the quill style that Maria was saying.
Can you talk about that quill style? Is it aesthetics, or does it have it's beautiful.
It basically is. I mean, like a lot of people will say back in the day it used to obviously hold more, the retention was more, because when you put a brush in a ferrule, it kind of ends at the ferrule at that point, whereas with the quill it can swell within the actual quill. How much more you actually get for that, I don't know. I wouldn't want to like put a percentage on it, but one thing's for sure is they look cooler, and a lot of people enjoy the aesthetic of what they look like, but the balance of them and the feel of them, I think we got it right. It doesn't feel, it obviously feels like a bigger brush, but it doesn't feel like too overbearing, and do you see what I'm saying about the balance there?
It's been a go-to brush for me this summer. Actually, I've been doing a lot of direct watercolor, of going out with my sketchbook and sketching skies and just things around my town. And it's I love the feel. I love all the water it carries, and I love that it's got the point. Like it actually comes to a really fine point. And I think it's our most expensive brush of yours we carry, but I think it's really cool. And we may be out of stock. We might just have a few right now, but I think you're going to make us more.
Yeah, we're going to make more. I think the thing to say about this brush, when you were asking me about the sizes, so I was saying like a size, the R0, 1 and 2 is like the 4, 6 and 8 type thing. The absolute truth is that you shouldn't be afraid of a bigger brush just because it's a bigger brush, because if it's got the right carrying capacity and a good point, at that point you can actually still do smaller detailed work with it. So like, I'm not trying to put people off buying smaller size brushes, but I'm just saying that one bigger brush actually can often do what several smaller brushes do.
Absolutely.
It has a good enough point, and that's the nice thing about the red dot. With them being synthetic, they are sharp, they are snappy, they do carry pigment well, they do wear down well. They are literally an imitation of the Klinsky Sable, and just to move on to the R4, you guys stock the R4, right?
Well, I wonder if we might briefly jump to, I know this is jumping ahead, but the other really large brush we carry of yours is the R19. And since it is like kind of also in that jumbo, And you
Yeah,
can
so
see
they're
it's
the
got a
same
very
size,
different
look.
kind of shape. And I wonder if you might talk a little bit about the R19. And it's
Sure.
longer.
Yeah, so again, still from the red dot range, just so yeah, you've got the same brush as me there. Still from the red dot range. Now, what actually is deceiving with that, when you say that they're longer, in actual fact, if you didn't have the casing around the R3 there, they would probably be
Mm.
about the same size, but the ferrule of the casing there cuts it off. So you do feel like you get a longer brush, right?
Oh, yes, I see that now.
You see what I mean? And
Yep, yep,
so
here.
in truth, that the R19 is, let me just get my facts right because we've got that many of them now. The R19 is the pointed round. So it's a standard point, which means that it's the belly of the width of the brush and the length of the hair. It's a standard point. It's not longer, it's not fatter, it's what you would expect for a regular standard point. But of course, it's in the ferrule. So at that point, then you're more used to seeing that style of a brush. Now, that's then when you would have to tell me if you can carry more water in the R3 or the R19. Price point wise, I don't know what the price difference is on those. I should imagine the R3 is more expensive because there's a lot more work that goes into the quill effect.
Ah, so the construction of the wire ferrule and
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
feel like the tip shape is different. So in my experience painting with them, you get a finer point with the
Well, you're only
R3.
feeling that because the belly of the brush is shortened.
Ah,
So
got
can
it,
you
got it,
see
got it.
the belly of
Yeah.
the brush is closer to the end of the quill rather than the
hmm
length of the whole head, so
Yeah,
you do
yeah,
feel like it can feel sharper because of the fact that it's a shorter brush.
yeah, yeah. So I
But
mean,
they're
in my
both made identically, and in truth, they are both from the exact same fiber. So they
ah,
should feel the same, but they don't, and that's why there's two.
yeah, okay, interesting. So this is a little bit of probably personal preference. I find the weight is a little bit different just with the length, and so it might be a little bit of what feels better in your hand. I mean, I think it's a brilliant brush. And so
Well, and the other thing to think is that you've got metal at the end of the R19 and then wood in the middle. Whereas on the R3, you have plastic with the quill and then wood in the middle. So maybe the metal does make it that slightly bit heavier at the end,
uh-huh.
right? Compared to the plastic. The
Yeah.
R3 to me feels more comfortable.
Yeah. So what might you advise to folks debating between these two? There's cost if they're choosing on cost, feel in their hand, maybe a brush that's just a little bit lighter on the tip versus a little bit heavier.
Well, the
Um,
truth that
but
my honest advice would be the truth is you only need one, unless you're
I
Maria
know
and you need one of
it's true.
everything.
Then you need them all.
But you only need one. But the absolute truth then is it probably is more down to aesthetics. I would say Maria's right in saying that the R19 you are going to feel like you have a longer stroke because you have more of a head of a brush.
Mhm.
But if you prefer a sharper, shorter stroke, then the R3 is probably going to be better. Feel wise, I have to say personally, I find the R3 just slightly more comfortable, but they both have a good balance, to be fair. They do. And at the end of the day, they are a big brush. It's the biggest casing that we offer. So you are naturally going to feel like it's a bigger brush than a regular brush that's in your hand. So I think if you're not sure, just flip a coin.
Yeah. Oh, well, I appreciate hearing that. And I feel like as an artist, like you said, you only need one, but it's worth having one big brush. Like even if you're just
Yeah.
working in, you know, you might even appreciate it in a small sketchbook, or if you get into the A6 size, sketchbook, it's going to let you lay on paint faster. It's going to let you do washes
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
that versatility and less fuss. A big brush, I feel like you can just go in and an artist friend of mine said big brushes make for big ideas and kind of capture those big ideas quickly.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. The
yeah.
the honest answer as well is it's what your budget will allow. You might want to go
hmm
with an R19, and then if you ask someone for Christmas, they could get you an R3.
Yeah. Your best friend is out sketching with you and lusting after your brush, and it's their birthday, and you say, "Okay, fine, I'll give you this one."
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So, but
um,
but the absolute truth is there's very little in between them. But I would
mhm.
say we discussed between the two of those what the differences are, the main differences.
Um, so let's jump to the R4,
Yeah, sure.
which has got this wonderful square tip. So this is a totally different type of shape here.
Yeah, so the R4 is basically a long flat, and again, it's in the red dot, right? So it's synthetic, and basically it's going to give you blocks rather than any kind of like, well, you will, this is the crazy thing with the R4, you still will get, yeah, there it is. You'll still get a nice sharp edge, right? When you
Oh,
use
because
it
you
on
can use it on your
its side.
side,
Yeah.
which is
So
where a
when you're
flat
using
is
it on
just so
its
versatile.
side, that's the R4, right? And so as Maria's using on its side like that, you're still going to get the chiseled edge. But because of the length of the brush, and this is why it's important. Do you guys stock the R20, Maria?
Oh, maybe not yet. I don't have it in my little
So
collection here.
the only thing to say to you is the R20 is popular because it's basically it's the short flat. So you've got the R4, which is the long flat, and then you've got the R20, which is a short flat version of it. And
Oh,
I'm
coming soon in our
around.
next order.
I know
The
now you're thinking, why
R20.
did she say that? But it's only because I'm comparing. We only actually do 2 flats in all of the travel brushes anyway. So can you see here? That's the
Yeah.
R20.
Oh, the R20. All right.
So you've got the R4, which is noticeably longer, right? You see it?
I
Same
do.
width
And
though, I would say.
yeah, same width. Okay, okay. I'll take a look for that because I love that. I'm just looking through I have a little personal brush collection here of samples from you over the years. And I bet I have, you said R20?
Yeah. So if not, I can
Oh,
send you one and you see if you like it.
oh no, no, it's okay. You already did.
You got it.
Yeah, this one must have slipped my radar. Very cool. So you just get a little bit more kind of control with that shorter. Um,
Architecture usually is what people would
mhm.
use the R20s for. So anything landscape architectural like that you need block shapes. Yeah, it's going
Yeah.
to give you more control than the R4 because the R4 has got the longer length, so it's just slightly floppier.
Ah, got it, got it. And then coming back to that flat, I mean, I've admired artists who love just like even using flats for a lot of their work. Like, you
Mhm.
can sketch a tree, with a pine tree with really sort of gestural, sort of
Right.
sideways flat marks, because you can still get some of that calligraphic. And so they can be really fun to play with beyond just sort of traditional flat mark ideas.
Well, and that's, I think, what's really nice about the R4 because of the length of it, right? So you have got that
Hmm.
forgiveness. The R20, you're not going to get that forgiveness because it's shorter. So it is a tight,
Mm.
specific stroke, you know.
Hmm.
I would
Hmm.
say again with that one, unless flats are your thing, you just want to try it out, go for one or the other. And the R4 is probably more popular than the
Get
R20.
a little bit more versatility. Okay, cool,
Mhm.
cool, cool. So R4, and here's my little R20 experiments. Well, while we're talking about flats, I'm going to keep us jumping around
Sure.
a little bit.
Going to the
We should bring up the
R-
little eradicator because while this is a real specialty brush for eradicating, I sometimes use it for like teeny tiny like flat work.
right.
Um,
So that's the eradicator, right?
yes, yes.
So
Let's see
again,
here.
in context for folks, you've got the R4, which is this one,
Oh,
the
perfect.
R20, and then the R24. Yeah. Ooh, where am I here?
Yeah. And so the eradicator is really short and it's super cute. It's super small. And maybe I'll do a little sample here and you can talk about how it's designed to be used.
Yeah, so basically the eradicator was brought out for people who want to get rid of their mistakes. And so mum had a customer basically email in and say, oh, I keep using a rubber to get rid of mistakes and I don't know why I should just use a brush. And then they spoke back and forth for a while about how actually if you can use a brush like the eradicator on its side by side motion, actually you can lift off mistakes and eradicate them. And then, of course, that wasn't good enough. So we had to bring out 5 sizes. And then people say, oh, that's used for then this, or I use it for like you just said then. So like you probably wouldn't need the eradicator, the R24 and the R20. Like if you've already got a flat, like, and that that's something that works. That might be why it came off your radar, because at that point you were able to use the eradicator for what potentially the R20 would have been for.
Yeah, so like I found this is really sweet, especially like in a small sketchbook. So it can be used for eradicating. And I use that for things like little sailboat sails. I was just doing a little lifting here out of this
Yeah,
probably like cerulean blue I had. But you can get a really nice, like little teeny tiny precise stroke. And for like, yeah, little buildings like in the background of sketches, playing with vertical and horizontal strokes. It's so fun. And you
I
make
would
just
say
such a
it's
little
definitely
cute,
more
teeny tiny one.
versatile, right?
Yeah, so it's nice that it goes beyond just like one use, it's not
Yeah,
just for eradicating. And being small and you made it relatively short, like, so it's pretty stiff so that it can
yeah.
kind of have that scrubbing motion, means that you can actually get a really pretty small line. And the other thing I sometimes do with it, Simi, is I'll dry it a little bit. Let me just get a little
Mhm.
paint on it, dry it, and then kind of like scrub. You can kind of have some fun, even like scrubbing and like,
Tufty kind of
doing some little
marks.
textures like for like grasses or, kind of playing with different little dry brush technique too is something I've enjoyed with it.
Do you know what's important to say as well on all the brushes that we've just been talking about, with them all being
Hmm.
synthetic, every one of those would work just as well in gouache.
Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes.
if anyone asks, I don't know, I know you guys are a lot of watercolorists, but gouache is like taking off big time now, right?
Yeah, and
More
we've
and more
started
people.
carrying more gouache and learning more about it. And we just love how nice that gouache and watercolor play together because they're both
It looks
opaque
so nice.
water-based paint. And I
Mhm.
always have minimum white gouache in my palette that I can mix with other colors. And
Nice.
yeah, yeah. And seeing like me doing these little scrubbing things, this is this kind of sort of scumbling isn't always like the nicest treatment for a brush, but
No,
this
I
one's a pretty
know.
durable little one. And I just want to say like all these taken with care just last for ages. And
Yeah.
that's especially why I like the ferrule, which I mentioned a little bit in the beginning, while you were getting the audio straightened out, is just that let's see if my camera's going to show it. Yours might show it better, but they do have this little air hole pocket, and they fit so snugly, so you can just point your brush, and with that brush pointed, if you carefully put it on, it's not going to damage the brush, and you can just
And one tip on that one, Maria, is some people don't think that they can put that in when it's wet, but actually that's the best way to do it
Mhm.
because it's got the hole at the end, it won't go moldy. But the last thing you want is for these brushes to be dry and then be fluffy when you're putting them in. You want it to be that it's wet and then it can go in and then it can just dry.
100%, 100%. Oh, well, I just love pulling these out to play with. So let's see, we've gone over our kind of our two biggest, and we've gone
Yeah,
over our flats. And so
yeah,
next, kind of going up the numbers, we have what I think is the brush that I most often recommend to either beginners or people starting out with your brushes who are like, Maria, I want to try one travel brush just to get
yeah.
started. What do you
Can I
recommend?
guess? Is it the R13?
Oh, that's the upgrade. So I have the R13,
Okay,
I have the R10 and the R13. So those are the next two I
okay,
thought we could talk about because I think they're both just
sure.
brilliant brushes and slightly different. And yeah, I think incredibly versatile.
Yeah, so let's have a look. So I've got the R10 here. So that's from the Golden Synthetic range. Now,
Hmm.
can you notice something to tell you? Remember me saying that this was a standard pointed round, yeah?
Yeah.
Why it's important compared to this is that the R10 here is super skinny and thin. Can you
Hmm.
see? And I
Yes.
know it's comparative because of the size, but it's also because it is a different shape brush. So the R10 is, yeah, it's a pointed, but it's actually a designer. So it's a long, thin, skinny. Okay. And why that's good
Uh-huh.
is that basically architecturally, a lot of people would use the designer brush. Okay. So that's probably why you quite like that, because you can get long, thin, sweepy strokes, you can get swirly marks, you can, they carry a ton. The price point, like you say, is really friendly. Like it's a really good way to get into it. I'm going to be honest with you and say if you're going to invest in one, yes, you have got the R10, but really for very little difference. Let's have a look. R10 and then the R13. Yeah, so you're looking at about $6 or $7 more, maybe $8 more. But at that point, I don't know why you wouldn't go for the R13. And I don't know if that's a controversial thing for me to say, but
Oh,
there you go.
No, I think it depends too, because the R10 is vegan, fully synthetic, and the
Yes,
R13
also
is
true.
a combo. And
But I
maybe
have to
I'll let
say
you
this.
explain the difference in fiber, and I'll share a little bit of my experiences too, because I just think they're both brilliant. And
Yeah, so to defend the R13 slightly, just by saying that basically the sable is in there to give you the basically the carrying capacity of sable and the sharpness of the point that synthetics don't tend to have. Like it's a natural sharpness rather than a fake sharpness, if that makes sense. And so at that point, you are going to get a beautiful edge on, on the R13. That being said, of course, you have some synthetic in there, which obviously brings the price point right down compared to what it would be if it was just like 100% sable. Of course, if that doesn't sit well with you and you want that shape, then yes, agreed. And admittedly, you then go for the R10 instead. But honestly, if that's not an issue for you, the R13 is worth it. And I know people who've used that R13 for years and years and years.
well, I agree 100%. And I think that there is just a little that extra suppleness in the R13 that comes from that natural fiber.
Yeah,
And it has a very long point. And I think that's
right.
that blend of the synthetic and that point, it's just a little bit sharper. So you get some terrific, just like teeny tiny points. So you can, we talked about the big brushes being like super versatile and not being afraid to have a big brush. But if these feel too big for you, choosing one of
Exactly.
these as your first brush, I think is wonderful. And using that decision point of is your, are you considering your budget, and does fiber, do you have any affinity for one fiber or the fiber blend? And I think you can do just about anything with a round. Here's some of just these really fine little lines I'm doing here.
No,
Um,
agreed. You can go from drawing to broad strokes to any kind of quirky mark, right? If you know how to use a brush, the round will be the most versatile for you at that point. And especially at that price point and that size, like a size 8 is a good size. That's the thing, and it feels comfortable. It's definitely. I don't know many. I don't mean that. How do I say this in the nice way? Like, I don't know many serious like people that are urban sketching that wouldn't have this sort of size in their range. It's like a bit of a staple.
Yes, yes, I'd say yeah, absolutely agree that it's a staple brush, and it's that size is just so perfect for the urban sketching scale that or travel sketching that we're often working on, whether
Right,
it's just your like, teeny tiny sketchbook, what we might have in like our little pocket art toolkits, working, with a little teeny tiny palette, one of our demis, or if you're
right.
working, and even in a larger A6 sketchbook, that it can still really have the coverage.
And
Um,
again, the nice thing is you literally wash them up at the end, throw them in, and then you're good to go.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. So yeah, I'd say either brush is just terrific. And again, I'd say I probably lean more towards the R10 for the budget beginner
Sure.
person. But then if you're choosing, consider both of these, because you're not going to go wrong. You're not
No.
going to go wrong with any rosemary brush, Simi. Um,
Interesting though, that the I don't know if yours is the same as mine. This is the difference when things are handmade, everything's different. But is your R10 a little bit longer than your R13?
oh, let's see. It is. It
Yeah,
is.
me
And
too,
I'd have
right?
to see if one of my older ones was too. Yeah, it's a slightly longer brush. I can't believe I haven't noticed that till now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I just noticed it too. I'm like, why is that longer? But then I didn't know because everything's made different. So I'll have a different batch here than the ones you have.
Yeah,
But
and
I
I
guess
think the
that's,
case is slightly larger of my R10, but I'd have to check
yeah,
too. And I completely respect that there's variations in handmade things, and depending on your supplies and how who's making them. And yeah. Um, all right. Well, I think it's now time to talk about a really cool brush shape that I love. And we
okay.
carry two of yours. And am I right in saying that this was I feel like Liz Steele's the artist that I first encountered using this brush shape.
Yeah.
Um,
So
and
Liz wanted us to put the dagger I don't know if your followers follow Liz, but I love her so much. I haven't seen
Yeah,
her for
Liz has
years.
taught with us, and we may have a demo. I'll have to check, but yeah, Liz Steele.
I love her, and I mean, what that woman can't paint, and how quick she is. So quick, she puts most people to shame because like you haven't even got your paints out, she's already finished.
Practices a lot.
She does, she does. Yeah. So they basically the R12. That's been one of our most. I mean, there's no other way of me saying this. We make them in our sleep. They are so popular. They're probably the shape that nobody needs, but everybody wants. They're probably the brush that if you didn't know what to get, or if you just thought, I just want to get something. Like, I know we've talked about your staples. I know we've talked about like sizing up and flats and stuff like that, but the daggers are different and everybody enjoys them. They're fun. That's the
They're
point,
totally
right?
fun. Yeah.
There's nothing meant to be serious about this shape. They're just like there to be quirky and unique. And so what they are is basically a red sable blend. You can see that we have two sizes. And basically let me get this right. The R12 is a 1/4 of an inch. Okay. Whereas the R16 is a 3/8 of an inch. Yeah. And so you can use them in 3 ways along with everything else, but you can basically use them flat. So you can do broad streaking strokes like Maria did at the top. You can do super thin lines as you pull it down on itself. Yeah, or if you twist it right and round and you can do streak, that's it, like super thin strokes, or you can then do the kind of like ribbon or petal or leaf effect, you know, and then not least to say that you can use them to dot at the top too. I love that kind of stroke though. And you can dual load your paint too if you wanted to do something really fun like florally.
Oh, dual loading. Yes, yes, yes. That's a great.
Right? Just as something fun, like totally different. Again, not to be serious, but it's like especially like when you're doing the waves, something like that, and you want to incorporate. Right, that's it. They're so nice. They're just so nice, and because they've got the synthetic and the natural hair in there, they keep going for ages. So it's really nice that they carry a lot. Obviously, I say obviously, but I'll say it to you guys. It's like the bigger the brush, the more it carries. But of course, the larger the stroke. So if you are painting small, the R16 will probably be overbearing. But at the same time, it has got the snap because it's got the synthetic. So don't be put off by the size, is what I'll say. When we brought out the R16s, like we couldn't make them fast enough. So they're a fun one. They're really fun to have in your kit. And I would say like that's just one that you just, but if you want to blow it and just say, no, I just want to get one because it's fun, these are definitely the one.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, the
like
size of that stroke that the larger one can do when you just start to lay it out for that big broad stroke, and then it still has, the tip, and I love that pulling down.
And the other thing, Maria,
you can even kind of stamp them.
If you hold that on its side, so like this, but then on its side, and then you let it dry a little, you can actually tuft up and do grass like that too on these ones. There, but yeah, the drier the better. Really.
Get some dry brushing.
Yeah, you got to play with it a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you can do tons of things with them, but like in theory, there's lots of different quirky, unique marks that you can make with them. A lot of, like I say, a lot of botanical people use them too, botanical painters.
That's the R16. Dual loading is so nice, and with that big broad tip, that makes it easier to dual load, where you can dip like the base of the brush in one color, and then the tip in another to make that.
That's the R16, Maria. You put R19.
Oh, I did. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. A little dyslexia there. R16. There we go.
We got it.
Yeah. So those, like you said, brilliant brush to play with. Size is just a matter of how big you want to work, because they're basically the same brush, just one scaled up. And and I'd say like a learning curve, but a fun learning curve, because you get to feel, they're not a round, they're not a flat, they're in their own category.
No, there's in truth, I don't think anyone doesn't enjoy that brush. Like, and especially it's the sort of brush that, like, I mean, Liz Steele uses them between that and the R13. Like, that's all she needs. But the absolute truth is that, like, if you're at like maximum frustration, you just think, I just want to have fun now. Right, just get that brush out and you're gonna have fun. Like, you don't need to like overthink it. The fact is that you're gonna get organic strokes with that brush, and that's perhaps sometimes what you need to loosen up. And so, yeah, it's a fun one.
So I want to jump now to some smaller brushes, and
Sure.
I've got here in front of me the R22 and the
Yeah.
R26, and maybe you could help talk about these two for a minute and kind of
Well,
thinking
we brought
about.
them on because you asked me to. I remember that.
I did.
So the R22
Thank you, Simi. I should be sending you more chocolates. You once gave us this great big box of chocolates, and
Oh,
we
actually,
our whole
I
team
did
gobbled them
get
up.
those chocolates and they were sensational. So the R22, you want to talk about the R22
Let's
and
talk
the
about
R?
R22. I think this is a really sweet brush. So yeah.
So not to be confused really with what we were discussing earlier, because it's hard at first. You'd think that they look quite similar, but it's not. It's noticeably different. It's a rigger. Okay. And so it's rigger is basically, the clue is in the name, it's for rigging. So thin, long, sweeping strokes. Yeah. So load it up and then just go to town. Really good for drawing, really good for those in like extra lines that you need, especially like I say, but especially like thinking of ships, thinking of hair, thinking of fur, that kind of thing. But I see a lot of people drawing with these now where they don't want the precise stroke of a pointed round because it makes them too tight. But actually, this, you know, you can do gestural strokes with this, and then you can go from there and then use your other brushes to build out from it. But yeah, the riggers are really nice. That's a red dot again, so that's a synthetic. Doesn't need to be any other than that really. And the price point's good.
I'll say one of my biases towards this too is that I grew up painting with a lot of like Japanese Symi brushes from spending time
Mhm.
in Tokyo with my family. And I really enjoy, I think this longer tip, like you mentioned, gives a little bit of that like calligraphic quality. And
Right.
so there's just a little less precision in a
Yeah.
wonderful way because you've got this little, you know, it has a little lightness and energy that
Yeah.
I find really delightful in, you know, thinking about doing, yeah, sort of some ink sketching where you can lay it on its side, use the tip,
Yeah, I love that. No,
and so I think,
you're absolutely right. The length of the brush means that basically the distance from the base of the ferrule to the top of the tip, you have got that flexibility. So it will mean a more organic stroke and it will mean a more natural looking stroke, you know? It depends what you like. Some people like to be really tight, and actually some people will say I'm too tight and I want to loosen up. Well, then in which case look at what's at the end of the brush. And if it is that you're using a regular pointed round and you are too tight, start thinking about quirky different shapes. The rigger's one, the dagger that we just talked about, the R12 and the R16. All these things will help you be a looser painter. It's not just you that's thinking tight, it's actually what's at the end of your brush, you know?
yeah, sometimes changing up your tool will help you
Right.
just use things in a different way.
Yeah, and we can't help it, right? We're all creatures of habit. You get into something, you think, well, why do I keep like? I have lots of people say, oh, you know, my paintings all look the same, and it's like, well, yeah, but you use the same brush. If you're going to use the same brush every time, you're trained to think in a certain way, and you see the same. And so at that point, then change your brush because we always say this, right? The brush is a tool. It's the extension of your arm, and so the tool that you're using is actually what's going to give you your stroke. It's not what's in your mind, right? It's the actual tool. So if you do find that you're being too tight, then use something different. And the rigger would be a good one to loosen you up.
Well, I love hearing about that because yeah, I think this is a brush we're not always as noisy about because it's not always like a default go-to brush, but it's just delightful, really delightful.
Organic strokes,
Mhm,
unpredictable strokes, you'll
mhm.
definitely won't need to load it constantly. You know, the whole point is it's like a reservoir.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can have fun with them. You don't have to just use them for long, thin lines, like we said. Like, look what you've just managed to do there. It's not
I
like a
know
little
some mountains
mountain thing.
started coming
I
out
love
there. I
it.
couldn't help it.
I love it. But that's the truth. Like, and you can lay it down on its side and sweep it across too. So yeah, it's a good one.
Um,
What was the one next to it that you
oh,
wanted?
so the one next to it is the R26, which is a size, you might have to help me out here. Um, is it a size 4 or the size
Yeah,
6?
size
Size
4.
4. Size 4. So this is the smallest travel brush we offer. And for people who like to work small, might be using like our demi palettes and working on like teeny tiny zigzag books. Um, we hoped to offer something that did have a little more precision, where you might want to hold it up a little closer and um, let's see here.
Well, there's not a lot to say about this brush other than it's a good little pointed round. So if you want really precise strokes, yeah, and you want really sharp marks and you don't want to flood the paper, you want, it depends on how big you're painting too, then this is the one for you. Literally, it's like using a pen.
Yeah, I'm holding it much closer to the tip than I'm holding, a lot of the other brushes. So with the small scale, I'm sort of using it in a much more drawerly approach.
Right.
Or drawerly, is that a word?
No, but I know what you mean. It's like you are going to naturally do that, right? It's a smaller brush in general. It fit like if we compare this size-wise to the jumbo R19, it's like night and day, just tiny. You can see, right? The
Oh
size of
yeah,
them.
oh yeah, and thoroughly different approach where that really big washes, big ideas, or playing with some little details, but it holds so much paint too. But
Right.
here I can just pull up just a little bit of paint if I need to, and load my brush, and then dive in. And I'd say, from my experience at least, um, I might think when I'm doing, smaller little paintings with precision, or I'm working on like decorating like a journal page and want
Right.
some of that. I just keep using the word precision and that small scale. And if that's what you're interested in, which can be really wonderful, it's a great fit for that.
It is. The only thing that I'll always be honest and say, my gut says to me though, if you're going to invest in a brush and it's a bigger one, it should have a good enough point that you could do that too. Okay, and I
Let's see.
know that's controversial to say because it's like, well, no, you sell brushes, but at the end of the day, a good brush that's big should have a good sharp enough point to do it.
So here
However,
I'll come back.
they are overwhelming, and if you like intricate, smaller, detailed work, then there's no point going for the bigger one because you're not really going to use it. So in that case, you would go for the small one.
So you could take something like the R13 or the R10, hold it
Right,
closer to its tip for a little more control, and you
right.
don't have to load the whole brush. You can just
But
load.
as artists, you guys like one of everything,
We don't
right?
need one of everything, Simi.
You need one of everything, apparently.
Well, we at least like to see options. We like to see
Yeah,
options,
right.
and they're so
Well,
pretty.
by the way, did you show those two filbert ones?
Well, I'm saving them for last.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, because I've got the new numbers on them, Simi. So they're
Oh, gee, okay.
yeah. Okay. Let's see here. I'll make a little R13 comparison here. Um, okay. And then those of you watching too, we'll have some time for some questions at the end. And if you've got any, chime in and I will do my best to get to them and ask Simi. So thank you. Okay, so these were our two newest and I mean, what I love about your brushes is we can go onto your website sometimes and we're like, gee, you're already making these in your
Yeah.
regular brush line. So it's like,
How difficult could it
maybe put
be?
them in the travel, like not a big deal.
Right.
And we were inspired by some artist friends of ours, like Sushma Hegde, doing florals. And it was like, wow, a unique brush shape is actually helpful for getting, I'm going to use so we've got these in two sizes. But just to get some of the kind of specialty marks of some consistent marks, I should let you share a little bit more about these. Here I am.
No, well, basically, we've just added them to the ranges. So we've got R29 and R30. And so the R29 is a small little filbert, and the R30 is just a little bit bigger. Well, actually, noticeably bigger, right? Yours are noticeably bigger too, right?
Yeah. We did your smallest one and then the largest one that would fit for now with the filbert, so we could have a little bit of a more dramatic difference.
That's it. So I'm going to have to size those up because I wouldn't want to quote the wrong size. But basically, you've got there two little filberts.
I think it's the 4
Filberts
and
are
8, if
really.
I remember correctly.
Say that one again.
I think the little one's the 4 and the big one's the 8.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
we better
sounds
double
about right.
check.
Yeah, but basically what they are is they're the red dot again, so they're 100% synthetic, and they are a domed filbert, which is interesting when you then talk about dome filberts versus something that's like a more of a cat's tongue. So you're not going to get the precise stroke, you are going to get a softer edge. which a lot of people like that, you know. They are very new. They are not even on our website yet. I thought they were, but let me check.
But they're
They
on
are
our
not
website.
on the website yet. So Maria has them first. So you've got to go
Thank
through
you.
those guys. And then basically, yeah, well, Maria just wants more brushes. So that's all I can say on these. I'm going to let you talk about them because you wanted them. I
Well, I
didn't think
think
we needed them, but we do.
Well, I think that we had this great demo. I should probably link to in the comments from Sushma, and then a workshop from her as well. And she was just making these lovely, consistent marks for petals,
Yeah,
um,
well, yeah,
where she
that's the
could
thing for
lay
filbert.
on
They're beautiful.
and yeah, and having that rounded tip just made it like really easy to do. I mean, as easy, obviously you need practice too, but to get some of these just like little consistent sort of floral shapes and that little rounded edge being more organic and a little trickier. I'm just going to pull out another brush. Here's the R13 again for comparison. A little trickier. Let me change up my color for you, just to like create, to actually get that rounded tip in one stroke is a little trickier. It's possible, here I'm just rounding some strokes, but finding that sort of consistency was really fun. And I hadn't had a lot of experience with a domed filbert. Here's like little two-stroke petals before I saw Sushma use it. And I just thought, gee, that was really fun. And then when I saw you were carrying them, and she was using a domed filbert, I thought, well, maybe Symi will make one for us. Maybe Rosemary and Symi.
Well, and the nice thing is as well, with them being synthetic there, they're going to have that really nice sharp edge too. As you come out of your stroke, you can then swoop down and into the sharp edge.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Let me see if I can.
There you go.
Oh yeah, just using it on it. It's just similar to a flat that you can
Right.
still get some of those.
The
Yeah,
only reason I say it is because I think some people think you have to have a different brush for like, but actually sometimes just using these things on the side whilst you're in it, you can do that,
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's
they're definitely a
Mhm.
fun shape, and they're popular enough as regular brushes, so I don't see why they won't be as travel brushes.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, we're having fun with them, and
To
check
be
our website, and if
determined.
we're
They are
ever
they
yeah,
they are new.
and if we're ever out of stock in a brush, stay tuned. Our newsletter is the best place to hear it. Of course, you can go to Rosemary's website too. Sometimes they'll have what we have. No, you're the source, but we really appreciate what
You
we can
always
carry.
get them before us, trust me. The truth
Uh-huh.
is that if we're ever out of stock with Maria, just send them a note and say, can you put me on the wait list? Because the minute that we have them, we get them out to them. And the honest answer is like the R3s right now. I can't tell you the exact reason why there's a delay, but I can guarantee it will be something like we are sourcing wire, or we're having to source a different sort of plastic to contain them in. Like it will be something logistical that makes things go slower just because manufacturing does, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but they don't stop.
And so Simi, I know we don't quite carry every single travel brush that you make.
Right.
So I'm putting you on the spot here. Are there any others that you're like, Maria, there's another really fun shape that you might really
Yeah.
like.
I'm
And
actually quite shocked because obviously, like, I can't keep track of everything you guys are stocking all the time, but I try and keep a rough idea. Like
yeah,
one of the brushes that I definitely think your followers will love is this one,
is that the
and it's the
triangle?
R18. Yeah,
Okay, I'm holding it in my hand because you sent me a sample and I haven't quite put it online yet. But I'm curious.
it is so
It's
cool.
so
So it's
unusual.
basically think of it like a pyramid brush. It's like a triangle, but it's 3D. Okay.
Okay. Yep,
And so
totally.
really nice when you load it and you can dab it like you've just been doing with those petals.
Uh-huh.
Now apply more pressure,
Okay,
because if you
okay.
apply more pressure, you're then going to get the base of the brush to give you the petal. Yeah.
Oh, so we're getting that really like kind of pointed.
Right.
I mean, uh-huh.
So yeah, so it's like a point but with a base to it, right? And then of course you can twist them, you can you can roll the brush because it is 3D, right? So it's like a triangle kind of shape. So you can roll it, you can double load them. I've seen a lot of people where they will just put the tip in a different color, usually a lighter color or a darker, like a really accent color, and then the base in a different color, and then do some really unique things. Mainly botanical painters I see using these because of the petals and the leaves and the kind of like quirky shapes you can get.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say I am shocked that you do
Okay,
not get
okay. Well,
brush.
it seems to me that I'm keeping a little list here of little extra goodies we need. And
That's, I mean, if I'm honest, if I looked at the others, there's
it's
let
fun.
me just check what this one was. They're all in packets, so I've got to. I think you, I think you've got like a really good base in all of those. The only other one that I think would be also fun, and again, it's in the synthetic, is the R17. Have you got that one?
Let me take a look. Tell me about it while I take a look through my little stash here.
So it's a bit of a bigger brush, but talking about
Oh,
filberts,
yes, 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 yes. Let me see. I think I do have one of those.
and again, I don't favor botanical painters at all, but I just tend to watch a lot of botanical tutorials, and these
Is
are
this
so
the same
popular
one?
again
The
for
R,
leaves.
what was the measurement you had for me there? What was the number?
R17.
Here we go.
Have you got one?
Yeah. Yeah, what you're hearing is what you're seeing probably is my little bias towards personally not being as much of a botanical painter and then getting exposed to the domed filberts. Now,
Mhm.
now I'm building my comfort zone. And okay, so yeah, tell me about this brush a little bit.
So basically, it's from the synthetic range again, golden synthetic. So it's snappier than the red dot, okay, which is
Okay,
important when it comes to leaves and things like that because you really want the precise stroke.
okay.
But the sharp edge of it's like a teardrop edge, you know, like the sharp point at the top means that you can get a really nice, unique stroke from it. You can load them, dab them. You can, a lot of people apply them by putting them down and pushing up, and that'll then push into your stroke. And of course, you've got the chiseled edge, like most of these have the chiseled edge nowadays anyway. But you've also got really nice sharp point. And I don't know, I have to be honest and say to you, other than the techniques that you're now going to learn with the domed filberts, I don't know which you're going to find more versatile. In truth,
I mean,
is the new dome filberts that you are bringing on versus the one we already had, the R18.
it
That's
seems to
one
me
R17. Sorry.
the shape of them is just maybe that little preference of the rounded tip versus, oh, there you go. Thanks for holding those up versus the sharp tip of and
You prefer the round. So this is when then it comes down to personal taste. Like
I'm not
it
sure
comes down
what
to
I prefer.
personal.
I need to play with florals more and maybe take some workshops from other like botanical artists. I'm such a landscape person. Give
Well,
me a
like I
setting
say,
and I'm
I'd
out
be
of my
shocked
comfort zone.
if you went to a floral workshop, I'd be shocked if you didn't take these with you. These are
Mhm.
the sort that I'd be saying that you'd be going to because you want the petals, you want the leaves, you want the quirky different marks. I mean, you can get a lot of that in truth from your dagger brush. And
And
of
I'm
course,
hearing some folks in the chat that are also enjoying the cat's tongue. And
oh, good.
okay, so we've got a couple little goodies here. So
So
we
you're
talked
being
about
outnumbered.
the ones we may need to stock, and is the triangle. So these which would probably fall in the category of like fun brush, where like it's not like a standard you
It's
need,
not an essential.
but it's fun.
Yeah. At no point are we, I'm never going to say to you guys that the R17 or the R18 are essentials. They're not. They're fun. But
Hmm.
then I would also say that when we do the R29 and R30, they're not going to be your essentials. They're just for fun too.
I 100%, 100%. And then you and I have also talked about the R20 as a little one too, that we might expand our flat range. So then we would have a teeny,
I
teeny,
would
tiny
say
flat for
people
folks who
need to
want.
message you. People need to message you about the R20 and see if you get enough people ask because you do the R4 and you've got the R24
Okay, okay,
on those.
okay. So
But in truth, they are really popular.
okay. And then we'll need yeah, I think that's it. So the cat's tongue, the
Do you
triangle,
notice how much?
and
Did everybody at home notice how much
eradicator.
Maria said we will need? Then we'll need more. right?
Yep, yep, yep. Oh, I mean, need 100%.
It's not a want. This is a need. Then you're going to need these, but these are all fun, in truth. And those last four, I've really liked how we've talked about these because I think the last four as well would be really good if you're going to try out botanicals. You know. But yeah, so why don't should I ask myself a question?
Yes, ask yourself a question.
Okay, three brushes from this range that if you couldn't live without, three brushes, and if budget was no option, yeah,
Okay.
I would probably say it's a hard one, but the truth would be the R13.
Okay, Desert Island picks. Here, I'm gonna pull up my video here and say hi to you. Um, okay,
R13. This is
R13.
if budget wasn't an issue, yeah.
Okay, okay.
R13, I would say the R12. And
R13. Symi's Desert Island picks.
yeah, R12 and then the
R12.
R24.
And oh, I'm looking for my R24 here. Show me, hold yours up. Oh, okay. So you've got your eradicator. You've got, oh, and look at that nice range of size. And then that's for you. And so other people might want their, pointed round. So, okay. So Simi, I'm going to think about my desert island picks.
Yeah, go.
And I'm going to say I need, I need your
Need the
R3.
big
I'm
one.
like way too attached to your R3. But that's because I love to go a little big and I love skies. And I like the feel of this one just slightly more than the R19, and I'm going to ignore budget. So
yeah,
I
budget's
adore
not an
both of
issue
these.
when you're on an
So
island.
budget's not an issue. Then I might be picking, but I don't want to just pick three.
That's the point.
Yeah. And then the other thing too that I need to confess is there's always room in my toolkit for extra brushes, because when I go out on like a dedicated sketch outing, I'm like, okay, I need to carry brushes. You'll see here, I actually have in my kit here the R13, I'm sorry, the R3 and the R19. And then I slip in little extras and extra paper because I need my friends to sketch with me. And
with you. I'm with you. Listen, go back to this. So you would say the R3.
Oh, this is too painful. Well, I need something really small.
You don't need something really small if you only had three,
No.
because you have got the sharp point.
No, this is too hard, Simi. I can't choose another. Then I get picked. I mean,
Well,
maybe,
okay,
maybe
then
I
in
might
which
have
case
the
the question is,
too, because the eradicator is like,
it's a staple.
it's just really useful for really specific things.
Yeah, no, I know. So basically, the question to you isn't what brush you would need on a desert island. It is which is your favorite brush that you can't live without, and that's an R3.
Yeah, that might be my and really it's just like something big. I need something big, and then
Right.
I probably just need something all around. So but
Maria,
then I don't know.
Maria, look how many brushes you have. I think actually the truth is that you need them all.
I do. And then I go shopping before I go out. But I have a couple that always live in my kit. Oh my gosh, Simi, I can't believe an hour has gone by. I know you've got your family, and I want to say thank you for spending this time with us, and thank you for, like, on behalf of Art Toolkit and this whole community, for
You're so
everything that
welcome.
you and the whole Rosemary team does to share like beautiful and wonderful art materials. And like you're helping to like empower and inspire artists to go make fun things. And like that's what it comes down to, is finding like tools that bring you joy to use. And I think the brushes you make, they feel like delightful to hold, delightful to look at. They're like precious objects, and they're like little portals of possibility of what might flow from
I love that quote. Portals of possibility. Well, listen, it's works both ways. I mean, for anybody watching this now from like Europe way, we now stock Maria's little palettes, and we stock, she did the like really cute little bags that they go in, and like little pans, and then we're expanding that. And I mean, I don't know, she's got so many cool things, and like we are constantly reordering. So we've now like put like big orders in, because we were just getting small orders, and every time we were getting wiped out so fast. So now it's super exciting because it's like a marriage, right? Where we can send to you and you can look after people that end, and then you can send to us. And so it means that they don't have crazy shipping prices and stuff. So we are super excited too. So thank you for trusting us.
Well, we're so thrilled, and we're working on your restock right away, and we'll be sending some more goodies over to your side of the pond. So yeah,
Perfect.
we just love our friendship and how our products just complement each other so beautifully.
They do.
And I'll just say to anyone watching, if you're like, Maria and Symi, this brush might be a really cool little travel version, or if you have ideas, just like send them my way. And not everything is possible, but that is just something I love about you and your team, is how open you are to ideas or to just continuing to
You
innovate.
have to have at least 100 people ask. This cannot just be one person.
We can't do
You have to have
one-off.
100 people. But Maria has got more sway power than most. So if you send Maria a message, if she asks, there's a chance that I'll do it. So, but yeah, I'll definitely get, just so you know, I'll get these new filberts out to you, and then we'll obviously be putting them on the website soon too. But you guys are the first to get those. So, and sit tight with us on the R3s. I know that they are slow at the moment, but I know that
We will. And in the meantime, anyone who's hankering for that big brush, the R19 is terrific as well. Wonderful brush. I'm going to let all of you watching go. Thank you for being here and being part of our Art Toolkit community. Stay tuned, as always, to our newsletter. And we love hearing from you on socials or via email. Stay tuned to what Rosemary Co is up to too. You've got we love seeing what you're up to on socials, and you've got your newsletter as well. And
yeah, we do. And we've got the 40th anniversary next year, so we might have to do a special travel brush on like a gold. Can you imagine like a gold case? Why did I just say that? Oh dear. There we
that would be really
But
fun.
we should do something special for it, like a commemorative one, or something. But thank you for having me, Maria.
All right. Well, I'll say goodbye to everybody here. Y'all take care, and we look forward to seeing you online in our next demos, and stop by if you're in our region to visit our shop. Thank you.
Bye.
Yay!
Maria, that was God, that flew by.
I know. I couldn't believe it was 10 a.m. because